This video is a paid advertisement for Council Heroes from Wilder Toys. On the table today at Squirrel Stampede, when was the last time you dusted off your vintage Sega Genesis? Well, now you may not have to, as Council Heroes are here recreating the Sega Genesis and some of the most classic vintage games in these really cool pop-up open diorama cartridges. We're obviously talking Sonic the Hedgehog here and a few other classics like Street Fighter and Altered Beast, but these things are classic You're Awesome as they pop open, display a diorama of some of your most favorite games and characters. Up to even including the giant Sega Genesis Super Villain Bundle Arena. Wow! So if you're into old school You're of games and especially Sonic the Hedgehog, check these out with me. I'll show you what they can do.
Squirrel Stampede!
Please subscribe,
Share!
This is a Council Heroes Super Villain Bundle, the Sega Genesis Diorama Pack, including the exclusive Sonic 1 cartridge diorama. This is the big one for Series 1 collection, the full 16-bit Council of the Sega Genesis. Something I'm not ashamed to admit I've probably put in just maybe over 1,000 hours on.
Probably closer to 5,000 hours.
The first fun thing to say about these is the way they have mirrored the old school graphic design of the Sega franchise here, the Genesis box with that gridded look on the package. Feels like it was torn right from the 90s. It is so iconic and so identifiable from across the room. So there on the back you can get an idea of what is going on with the Super Villain Bundle. That guy looks familiar. Who is that guy? So we're gonna start with the Super Villain Bundle, of course, but keep in mind there's lots of other cartridges to add in. Opening up. Oh hey, there's some interesting things I didn't see on the box. Is this a cartridge holder? A rack to hold all the individual games? Very nice. A Sonic 1 cartridge. Only a few hours of thousands sucked into this game, and for the moment it is feeling fairly close in scale. We'll check that out a little closer. Oh, and we're packed with some iconic figures. Eggman's Eggmobile Pod. Sonic! Ooh, the Mecha of Eggman and more. So let's see here. This actually must be Mr. X from Streets of Rage. That's one I never really played too much of, or Deathbringer, but they're there. It's mostly for me all about the Sonic. Is that a metal Sonic? And so the Council is here. Whooshing memories back into my mind. It's got a good style to it. It's got a good look. It's similar in shape and everything, but let's check it out next to my authentic original Sega Genesis. So it's just a little bit smaller than the original, and it's not as dusty as the original, so that's a good thing. Mine's kind of scraped up and dinged here and there. But they're able to capture a really good likeliness between the two there. I wouldn't expect them to get it down perfectly. Why would they need to? And with this being miniature, you're going to want to save some room on your shelves for displaying all the other cartridges, of course. Even like the power reset button and the on and off and the volume controller in pretty much the same positions. Pretty amazing how sturdy these old consoles were. So good scale. It's running at approximately 9 inches wide by about 7 inches deep. And to open it up, there's a button where the headphone jack used to be, and yes, that then just opens up your display like so. Look at that, that's really clever. It's got like a Pokemon Battle Arena-like vibe, even though that's Nintendo. This one works just well for Sega too, as you can pit your characters up against one another on this gamepad here. Not much else to set up. I think these side wings down here fold out for figures to stand upon. So let's put figures to stand upon. The box is saying, let's take on Mega Mech here. The Robotnik mech right front center stage for battle. It's kind of like who's gonna go against who. And then let's try in Mr. X. There's holes on the bottoms of these feet so we can peg in and stand, luckily. We've got a Mach 2 Mecha Sonic to stand somewhere. And maybe a Deathbringer up on top. So as you collect the cartridges, you can add in the characters into this larger scale diorama if you want this full battle experience look. But I think I would rather leave them in their cartridges. It's like they're home, right? They're home. There's a Sonic cartridge. And again, pretty good scale and likeliness. Here's an original, not for resale, so this one actually came with my Genesis. Pretty much in scale and length right there, but just obviously a little thicker because you're going to be placing figures inside. But really mocking the shape and size really well. Opening up just right like so, and there's our world in there. Which way do we go? Like that I say. Is this the Labyrinth Zone? We have the tiniest bag of accessory here. Yeah, the Labyrinth Zone 3, which can be pretty tricky if you're not into water levels. A lot of the little elements here are post and hole things that you can place and decorate as you wish. And there is our Dr. Eggman mobile pod for attack. He's quite huge. That's not going to fit back into this cartridge, I don't think. There's a ring. And this zone is just full of painful retracting spikes, especially as you're climbing the ladder. I'll try and fit them in where I can. I like this one up here. That one's the most dangerous. And of course, we can't forget Sonic. He's kind of in like a mid-run dash stance. Don't fall in the water, Sonic. And then we have a little level identifier tab. I think we can, oh, it says Labyrinth 3 on either side, so you can pick a side and just clip it onto the ridge here. I have an extra spike, but there it is. There's a cute little Sonic 1 diorama of the Labyrinth Zone. Eggman's a little big here. He's kind of taking up the whole scene, but it's quite enjoyable to see all set up like. It's got a good classic vibe going for it. This was the thing of the rage of the 90s. Pocket playsets, dioramas, always a lot of fun. And this one's capturing it pretty well with the accessories and character pieces inside. I don't think we will be able to restore Eggman's mobile inside this thing. He is so huge. But it works as a neat little display, and typically I don't really try to recram everything inside anyway. Something always goes wrong and stuck, so I'm gonna leave it like that. I think it's a great looking display. And quite possibly my favorite cartridge in this collection, except for maybe the next cartridge. And that would be Sonic 2. If there could be a recorded graph on hours played of vintage console games, I'm pretty sure the amount of time I've placed into Sonic 2, any other game out there, maybe any other game out there in my entire gaming career. I played this one through and through to the end over again. And such a challenge collecting the Chaos Emeralds and getting Super Sonic, actually only really being able to do that a few times. You really had to time those special stages down. This cartridge flip-up diorama featuring Tails and Sonic, but you have Tails suspended, so that's going to be looking really nice. Again, with the box design from Wilder 2 on these console heroes, they're just great. I feel like this is something how it would have been in the 90s picking up your game. I feel like that's how it almost would be displayed. Of course, we did have games in these great plastic cartridge boxes, and very similar in a way of how things are going with this series. Let's get out. Fancy Packery 2 from Wilder, as you can replace everything in box for display in box if you wish to do that too. I like doing that. Keeps your toy diorama feeling constantly new and fresh. And there's our second cartridge. I love the cartridge display too that comes with the diorama full, as you're able to place them all in for display. Tails here, Sonic running away. And 3 points extra for actually including 3 rings. This Sonic in a different position, more in a full run than the previous. The previous almost looked like he wanted to turn back. And Tails here, flying with his fists a-frontin'. This part's really satisfying opening it up. Oh, it's so colorful. This one vibes a little bit better than the first Sonic using Emerald Hill Zone. It's a little more iconic, a little more green. Drop some rings in here. On the also classic wooden bridge run, drop our Sonic down. There's a few different posts here to place too. And let's see if we can helicopter Tails down onto his spot. Ooh. So easily, probably my favorite out of the cartridges today. I betcha, as I played this game so much back in the day. Look at that nice little display of diorama. What do we got for scale, by the way, on these? They stand at approximately 3.5 inches tall and are running about 4 inches wide. Great tabletop desk display option. Oh, let's get our little Emerald Hill sign up here. Just a classic Sonic piece for old school collectors. So if I played hundreds of hours on Sonic 1 and I played probably thousands of hours on Sonic 2, would you be surprised I only played a few hours on Sonic 3? For some reason, I really didn't play Sonic 3 until it hit emulators on PC computers, and then I would play it a whole bunch even though it was just really troubled and glitchy. I'm really surprised back then in the day I didn't pick up a cartridge of Sonic 3. This game with the all-important debut of Knuckles. And I can even hear the music, though, of the Carnival Night Zone diorama in my head. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, that was really pitchy, cringy.
Good choice with Carnival Night on this one. It's kind of like in between Labyrinth and Emerald Hills in identifiable zones. Sometimes you want something a little more tricky to ID. Not too hard, but a little more unique. The Sonic 3 cartridge diorama, and Knuckles. How does Knuckles look? Pretty straight on good. I like that he's not in any sort of crazy pose. He's just in a standing front. I like that. I always prefer that because it's so much easier to do stuff with. And you know, overall, all of these figures have been sculpted and painted pretty well for micro scale. You got really good likeliness, really good sculpts, and they feel like they're fairly well put together, so they're not going to break on you. There's Sonic, and we get all new individual poses. A red balloon to pop on. Some spikes to sit on. Ouch. Gotta have at least one ring per diorama. Is this supposed to be a bumper pad? And one of those zone covers. So much color on this original cartridge art. And there's our Carnival Night Zone with a little loopy slide in the back. Kind of staged out really nicely on this one. This zone was one of the most bouncy, infuriating zones to first play through. I remember recalling getting stuck on like their little elevators. Cylindrical bouncing elevators that move up and down, and you would have to like press up and down to kind of get them to move up and down more, and I would get stuck and I would just get so frustrated. But the music of this level just kept me going. It was so entertaining. And there we go, all set up with the Sonic encountering Knuckles in the Carnival Night Zone. Well, I thought I wanted to say Emerald Hill was my favorite, but this is a tough competitor. I like this one now. A classic obscure level, right? You got Knuckles and Sonic fighting it out over this ring. Don't step on the spikes. That's really well done. That's a really well done cartridge. And sets up the series of these three. Unfortunately, there's not a Sonic 4. But these three were always the very big three in gameplay for Sega for me for sure. And they're quite fun to see all three displayed together. Pretty sure these three are going to be the three that fly off the shelves the fastest. And I believe they are available at Targets and Amazon as your best place to find them. There are a few more classics though, Let's see if you can remember these or if you've heard of these. Ask Grandpa sitting in the rocking chair in the corner over there if he's ever encountered an Altered Beast game. This one's actually quite classic to me, maybe even a little more so than Sonic 3. I think I played this one a little bit more. It came originally packaged with the first round of the Sega Genesis, I believe, first or second round. I did not own this game, but my best friend did, and we would often play a little Altered Beast. It's kind of like one of those games that first introduced you to the 16-bit world. So even though the game can feel a little clunky now, it was just so incredible, such an advancement in gameplay. I believe a shorter game, I think it only had like 5 levels, or maybe it had a few more. But the concept was so fun and simple. You're just this overly beefed up guy with muscles abounding. And so like in the graveyard here, you would knock over zombies, steal some power orbs, and slowly level yourself up. And in this case, transform into a powerful werewolf that had some pretty cool zigzaggy fly across the screen arrow smashing effects. I'm trying to remember, would you say it was kind of like mirroring into the Greek arts of classic yore, maybe? It seemed to have like a Greek mythology feel, if I remember. But then with werewolves. Or a were-dragon, or a were-tiger, or a golden werewolf. There was some things going on with this game. But it's such a classic one. You have to include this one. If there's any game you include, besides Sonic first, it's Altered Beast. And the artwork of the Sega Genesis days was unmatched. I mean, this is kind of like pre-Photoshop days where you could really make something look really perfect. Designers would pull some great game art. There's our werewolf guy. I kind of wish we had the guy it turned into before Werewolf 2. That would have been kind of a fun transformation. There's our boss. They were always some of the most creepy things. I remember there was a giant eyeball boss that would throw eyeballs at you. Little fire. Little energy life bar. And these acrylic rods, you can't see them in any way, I tell you. Graveyard battle, it's gotta be the first level. It looks iconic. It's got those Greek statues in the back and some gray stone rock here and there. And then we'll place down Agar. Is that his name? Was this really the first boss? For some reason, I do not remember this being the first boss. I'm just gonna leave him down in the dirt. You don't have to peg him in. It looks more appropriate in the dirt. Got our werewolf guy over here. This is just a perfect one. It's really obscure to place on your desk at work. If you want to get the office talking about something obscure, pick this one up totally. How do we get the fire in? These are its little flame effects. Is it coming from the werewolf or is it coming from Agar? If you recall, the character would kind of turn into like a little triangle fire thing and shoot the guy, your extra power up. And then we've got our little level marker with the score up top. Kind of holding in funny on that one. And our health bar. Yeah, I think if you had this on your desk at work, people would be like walking by going, what is that? And then they would slowly get it. They would slowly remember, oh, those are the days of Altered Beast. I really like this werewolf figurine. It's unintentional because of the brown. It kind of feels like something really weird happened to Scooby-Doo. Raggy, what happened? And now I will fight the boss. So that's a really fun one. Good choice for another diorama scene. And the final cartridge diorama of today, a very, very classic, Street Fighter 2 Super Street Fighter. I feel like this is another game that I picked up on emulator and played a whole bunch. This is another one though, as iconic as it gets, has to be included in this series of Council Heroes. We got a classic Yacht Ken stage diorama with Ken versus Ryu. Support stands, health bars, things to make this look just like the game. Once again, really nice package displaying going on. That must be Ryu who just jumped out and Ken up top. Whoa! Did he just try to attack the camera? These guys are fighters. Got a beautiful looking cartridge and all sorts of fun accessories. There's something really fun about the freshness of opening a brand new diorama Council Heroes. Oh, and the sea breeze. Got the Capcom yacht going here. Pretty good. Got little zone marker mushrooms to drop in here. I suppose these would actually be like little ship rope pegs that you would rope your ship down to. Is that what I'm thinking those are? And so, these guys are they're ready to go. There's Ken. Ryu already set up with like an energy blast from his hands. Special moves abundance. And with acrylic rods, you can't even tell it's placed down. According to the energy meter, Ryu is just a little bit ahead of Ken. And that actually helps you label who's who. Plus, you gotta have a barrel. I like the little golden barrel. The bronze barrel just threw this cartridge over the top as being really awesome. So for Street Fighter collectors out there, this is just classic fun. This is great and doesn't take up a ton of space. And so there we go, reliving our favorite levels of Council Heroes from Wilder. What an idea, what a fun classic throwback idea. Matches the era perfectly, pocket themed dioramas with micro figures. This almost feels like something you could have vintagely pulled from the past. It may actually really confuse some people in a few years what era this is from. They're that well done. What fun. Now the tricky part is getting them all back inside. You know, most likely I will be keeping them displayed either on shelf or back in original box because I love how the boxes work. But like in this situation, can we get everybody back into this little container without crushing them? This is always a challenge of Microverse. It would be really tight. I don't think... In some cases, you might be able to. You definitely wouldn't be able to get this guy back in. So a little bit fun in trying to get them to refold up. I would just place and display back in box when done. Or of course, there is a lot of fun loading everybody into this giant displayer. You can have a full-on battle going on this pad here. So if you're looking for total crazy display, the Super Villain Genesis bundle is where to go for that. What a battle, what a battle. And so that there was the Council Heroes. Those were pretty fun, bringing me back to the days of Sega Genesis, old school vintage Sonic, some specials like Street Fighter and Altered Beast. That's some classic yore. And maybe there'll be a second series, right? We'd love to see a few other games like maybe Strider. Who remembers Strider. Is it Strider? Anyhow, if you liked today's video, please give us a squawk, square live, squam at your favorite, most interesting Council Heroes. Thank you so much for Wilder Toys and Council Heroes for sponsoring this video. Here's some other videos that YouTube recommends. Thanks for watching. That's what I have to say about that.